Today marks day 41 of the government shutdown. But after nearly 6 weeks, lawmakers finally took the first step to ending the stalemate yesterday, after a number of Senate Democrats a Republican funding bill to reopen the government until the end of January. In a 60-40 vote, a group of moderate Democrats broke from their party and voted with Republicans on legislation that funds the government and holds a later vote on extending Affordable Care Act tax credits that expire January 1st. If it sounds familiar, it's because it's what Senate Majority Leader Thune floated to me just 3 weeks ago, how it could end. Anyway, this deal includes a mini package of appropriations bills that funds military construction, Veterans Affairs, the Department of Agriculture, and the legislative branch, as well as a stopgap funding measure that ensures the full government remains open until at least the end of January of next year. The bill also includes language to undo federal layoffs imposed by the Trump administration during the shutdown, which began, of course, on October 1st. This agreement does not, though, guarantee health care subsidies will be extended, as Democrats have demanded for the entirety of this shutdown. And that's angered many of them, who say Americans want them to continue to fight for something substantial. Some of the senators that voted with Republicans, though, spoke out about their decision last night.
We were in a situation where SNAP recipients were suffering, and there was no guarantee we would ever get to an ACA solution. Now we've got robust SNAP funding and a guaranteed vote, not a guaranteed outcome, but a guaranteed vote on ACA tax credits.
I understand that not all of my Democratic colleagues are satisfied with this agreement, but waiting another week or another month wouldn't deliver a better outcome. It would only mean more harm for families in New Hampshire and all across the country.
The sum is we are closer to the possibility of work on the ACA tax credits for the people of this country than we were yesterday, and than we were a week ago, 2 weeks ago, or a month ago. So this agreement tonight is a win for the American people.
That's a live ball for debate up on the Hill among Democrats. Meanwhile, the Senate is scheduled to reconvene at 11 a.m. this morning, at which point the package has to clear a handful of procedural hurdles, and that could take days to work through, except if Senate magic prevails, because if all senators agree to speed up the process, it could move quickly. But it only takes one senator to object and drag this process out. Two of the senators who voted with Republicans and were key brokers of this deal are going to join Morning Joe a little later this morning. That's Independent Senator Angus King of Maine, who joins in the 7 o'clock hour, and Democratic Senator Jeanne Shaheen of New Hampshire, who joins in the 9 a.m. Those are newsy interviews that you're not going to want to miss. Joining us now at the table to prime us for all of it, congressional reporter for Punchbowl News, Max Cohen. So, Max, you were on the Capitol late last night. I was working the phones from home. I think all of this was kind of where we were rolling last week. The election kind of made Democrats say, hey, isn't there more we should be fighting for? And there are many of them who still feel that way. But how did this shake out? I mean, how did it come together in the end?
Yeah, I think this group of 8 moderate Democrat senators are key to this agreement. They saw that Donald Trump and Senate and House Republicans were never going to guarantee them an outcome on health care. And as Shaheen said in that clip you just played, the longer this dragged on, the more they were concerned for their most vulnerable constituencies, those who rely on SNAP funding and federal aid funding. So they said, look, the best we're going to get is this appropriations bill, which has a lot of Democrat demands in it. And reversing those layoffs is huge.
Yeah.
And they said, we're going to get a vote on ACA. That's the best they were ever going to get in a Washington that's, let's remember, controlled by Republicans.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, that's exactly what Majority Leader Thune said to me when he came on MSNBC just a few weeks ago, saying, I can guarantee Democrats a vote. I can't guarantee them an outcome. And that's all about where you set the vote thresholds, not to get too nerdy with it, but it's a 60 vote threshold versus a simple majority. And I think that makes all the difference. So we'll see come December. And my understanding from Democrats is they really want to use the next few weeks to keep the pressure on and the focus on healthcare. But I think there's tea leaf reading to be done, and I know you and I both were doing this, in who voted for it and who didn't. The fact that none of the vulnerable senators up in 2026 put their name as a yes, I think says something. What do you see here?
Yeah, let's just look at John Ossoff for a second, right?
Yeah.
He's up in Georgia. He's the only Democrat running in a state that Trump won, who's up for re-election, and he voted no. And I think that shows where the liberal base is. He's betting that he did not want to risk the anger of his Democratic and progressive voters in Georgia, because across the country, candidates running in tough Democratic primaries are uniformly opposing this bill, many trading their anger on Chuck Schumer, who again voted no. But you look at where the energy of the Democratic Party is, they were told for weeks, we're going to fight for healthcare, we're not going to cave. they're not happy this morning at all.
Yeah, and I think it kind of goes back to the question that I know I've asked others on this program, and I've even asked myself and my sources, which is anything ever going to be enough for a Democratic base that just feels so trodden upon by the Trump administration? They feel so trampled that all they want to see is fight, but at a certain point, fights have to resolve. Or do they not? I mean, what is coming down the pipeline for someone like Chuck Schumer, who, even though he played this literally the opposite way that he played it in March, people are still so furious with the way that he led the caucus at this moment?
Yeah, I think you just have to look at some of the online calls from candidates and Democratic House members yesterday who were saying very clearly Chuck Schumer is not up to the task. Even though he voted no, the argument these progressives are making is he could not control his caucus. A good leader can control the votes, and he let 8 of his own members vote for a package that the majority of the Senate Democratic caucus did not want. And I'd say the majority of Senate Democratic voters don't want either.
Looks like the Senate is headed for a vote to end the government shutdown, this being the longest government shutdown ever. Let's listen to what Chuck Schumer, who is a minority leader, just said.
Step in and meet with us to deliver lower health care for Americans, and instead, Donald Trump has taken the American people hostage. From cutting off food aid to hungry families and vets and seniors and kids, to manufacturing flight cancellations, to cutting off home heating aid, while he builds a billion-dollar ballroom with gold-plated toilets. Therefore, I must vote no. This healthcare crisis is so severe, so urgent, so devastating for families back home that I cannot in good faith support this CR that fails to address the healthcare crisis.
So there you go. The Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer from the Democratic Party just voted no on that. Let's take a look to the Majority Leader Thune and what he said about the shutdown.
After 40 long days, I'm hopeful that we can finally bring the shutdown to an end. I don't need to go over all the reasons why it's imperative that we get the government open as soon as possible. From the truly precarious situation we are in with regard to air travel to the fact that our staffs have been working without pay for a full 40 days now, all of us, Republicans and Democrats, who support this bill know that the time to act is now. After 40 long days, I'm hopeful that we can finally bring the shutdown to it.
So again, 40 days. The only people getting paid, by the way, is just Congress. So all these senators, representatives from the House and the Senate are getting paid, while everyone else is not getting paid. Think about the airline, air traffic controllers and the government employees are not getting paid. Let's jump over to Fox News. We can see that they have a live feed of the Senate floor, and I quote, Fox News says, if passed, the procedural vote would put senators on a path to end the shutdown. So this is a live feed, and some of the comments, right? This shutdown never should have happened. Trump's stubbornness cost Americans far too much. From Deepak Kumar. Just mixed reactions on what's happening. All the Democrats accomplished was ruin my freaking vacation. So let's take a look at what's happening here. We can see live feed from the Senate floor. This is day 40 of the government shutdown. The Senate reconvenes after a recess and is expected to vote on a motion to reconsider the House-passed continuing resolution to reopen the government. So 60 votes are required in order to end the longest ever government shutdown. You can see here the breaking news is that the Senate strikes bipartisan deal to end the historic 40-day U.S. government shutdown. So the U.S. Senate reached a bipartisan agreement late Sunday to reopen the federal government after its longest ever 40-day shutdown, funding operations through January 31st of 2026, and providing full-year appropriations for veteran affairs and SNAP benefits, while reversing federal employee layoffs. The deal, negotiated by Senators Angus King, Jeannie Shaheen, and Maggie Hassan, and Republicans, includes a December vote on extending the ACA, or Obamacare, Affordable Care Act, subsidies facing expiration, and amid Republican opposition to ACA enhancements and Democratic pushes for healthcare protections that impacted over 2 million workers. Now, the shutdown strained services like air travel and delayed benefits for millions, with President Donald J. Trump Trump urging filibuster elimination for voter ID laws. And the latest reactions is that, Governor Newsom's office just issued a press release about 3 hours ago stating, pathetic, this isn't a deal, it's a surrender. Don't bend the knee, meaning he's urging the Democrats to hold the line.